Hello and welcome to the Emetophobia-Free podcast. Today we are joined by two lovely ladies. We have Coach Lauren Singer from the States. Hello, Lauren.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. And we have one of Lauren's clients, Melina. Hello, Melina. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Now, Melina is here to tell her story today. And my goodness, she has a story to tell. Now, I don't know Melina's story in full. I've just seen a few notes. But Melina has suffered with emetophobia since the age of 5 and quite severely, I would say. And has been an incredible journey since she's been working with Lauren and is here today to talk about what her life was like with emetophobia, her journey through it, and where she's at today. Does that sound about right, Melina?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to hand over straight to you guys. Do you want to start at the beginning, Melina, in terms of your emetophobia around age 5 and how that looked in early childhood?
Yes. So I've had emetophobia for as long as I can remember. I quite literally don't know a life without it.
Mm-hmm.
According to my mom, I've had it since I was 5 years old. And I remember just most vividly, it started out in just restaurants. I could not go into a restaurant without having a panic attack. I would be in and out of the bathroom, freaking out, on the verge of throwing up. And it was just this severe battle. And I couldn't go out to any restaurants. I would barely eat beforehand because I'd be stressing myself out so much. And then it started bleeding into school where I would stay home because I would be having such intense anxiety and stomach aches and nausea. I just couldn't do it. And my mom would take me to the doctors and we'd try and figure out like what's wrong with her. Why is she like, is there something wrong with her stomach? Is there anything bad happening? And they could not figure it out. And we were just stuck in this cycle for a long time of like, what's going on? What do we do? And yeah, it was pretty tough.
Yeah. So how long did that obviously go on for? How old are you now?
I'm 22 years old now.
22 years old, so that's quite a number of years. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were having this battle and you didn't know what was going on and you're going to doctors and trying to find out if there's anything medical, what did the route look like from there, if you will? So when did you discover the term emetophobia? Was that the first thing that was discovered, or was there other things along the way? What was the journey like for you?
So as of right now, I have had 10 official diagnoses from doctors of mental illnesses. So unsurprisingly, emetophobia was the last one that I got because no one knows it exists.
Yes.
So at first it was, she just has anxiety, and that led into social anxiety and depression. I started getting more diagnoses once COVID hit and we were, shut down, and that's when all the emetophobia really thrived. So that's when I discovered I have germophobia, OCD, agoraphobia. More recently, I discovered I have ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
I also developed body dysmorphia right before COVID, but that was for a different reason, which we'll get into a little later.
Okay.
And then finally, I got my eating disorder diagnosis for Arfid, which stands for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. Mm-hmm. And I had the type that was, doesn't eat or restricts food because they're afraid of throwing up. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so me and my mom kind of just stuck with that. We were like, okay, it's just this. We got to get like eating disorder help, and then that's going to help. And it didn't. Okay. It actually made the emetophobia a lot worse.
Okay.
And I finally discovered the term emetophobia. It was right during like COVID when everything had just shut down, and it was just getting worse and worse and harder for me to eat. And it was just so scary. No one knew what was going on. And I put in a search on Instagram for some reason about just like people, like afraid of throwing up. And then I found these posts and I was looking through, and then one of the hashtags for it said emetophobia. And I was like, what's that? And that's when I researched it and I was like, oh my God, this is what I have. And
Right.
that's when I first found that there were other people that were like me, that were afraid of throwing up. And it, like, I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not alone.
Yeah. It's a special moment, isn't it? We've all been there. All three of us on this screen have been at that point where we think, oh, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. There are other people like me. Okay, so that's a very long journey with lots of diagnoses along the way, emetophobia being the final one, which is really disheartening. That is still so under-researched, under-talked about, underdeveloped. Because as we all know, we can overcome it. And it's actually quite straightforward and a really nice process. Now, you mentioned there and touched on the Arfid, because that was, I'm guessing, having a massive impact on your life in terms of how much you were restricting your food, and going
Yes.
forward with treatment for that. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what that looked like?
Yes. So I officially got the diagnosis of Arfid when I was in high school. I believe like my sophomore year. So I was 15 years old, I believe.
Okay.
And I was in just normal talk therapy and CBT and like it was keeping me afloat, but it wasn't
Yeah.
solving anything.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for it to get better and it wasn't getting better. And so it's like, okay, over the summer we had gone to Florida and I did not handle that well. I barely ate on the trip back, like in the car, I was freaking out. And ever since then, I just stopped eating very much. I would only eat in the middle of the night, and it still wasn't a lot during the day. I just wouldn't eat. And obviously, I'm in high school, I have to go to school, and I have no energy. I can't eat. And because I would not eat before or during any like event, school, nothing, I'd starve myself. So I couldn't go to school because I'm like, I have no
Mm-hmm.
energy. I can barely walk. I have nothing in my system, quite literally. Like, I can't do that. And
Yeah.
it was getting worse and worse. And it's like, okay, we need more than just therapy. And so we got me admitted to the best hospital in Philadelphia for children. And we were so excited. We were like, this is going to make everything better. Like, I was so excited. I was like, this is going to help finally. Little did I know that that was one of the worst decisions I've ever, yeah. Um, they I went in, and instead of helping, they made everything worse. They bullied me into gaining weight. Um, every time I would go to an appointment, they would just look at me kind of like with disgust and like I wasn't good enough. And even if like I'd come in gaining weight, it wasn't enough for them. They needed me to gain an unrealistic amount super fast. And every time I didn't meet their expectations, they would threaten to put me in the hospital because I was in outpatient programming. And I explained, like, I'm not going to eat if I'm in inpatient. It has to be outpatient. Um, but they just weren't understanding, and they would just threaten to shove a feeding tube down my throat if I didn't start gaining more weight. So that was very, very difficult. And from that experience, that is how I developed body dysmorphia. So I do not have anorexia. I've never had anorexia. I've never cared what I looked like. I've always said if I could choose being like, like overweight versus being afraid of throwing up, like I would go for overweight every time. Like I did
Yeah.
not and still do not care what I look like. But it
Mm-hmm.
was that experience where they would just look at me with disgust that I learned to start hating how skinny I looked and how unhealthy it was. Because I knew it wasn't good and no one likes seeing themselves looking, like unhealthy like that. But it was so bad that I got rid of all the mirrors in my house, like in my room, and there were some mirrors still in my house, but I refused to look in them. I wouldn't take pictures of myself. I was just so disgusted.
Wow, that's a very hard story to hear. It must be a difficult one to recall.
Yes.
And I'm sorry you went through that. That's not a nice thing to have to go through. So, at some point, you must have stopped. Did you gain weight and therefore get discharged from there?
Yeah, it was actually like my hatred of that place that saved me from it. I was like, I'm not going back here again. I need to
Okay.
get out of it. And I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make myself throw up and then I'll see that it's fine. And then I can just gain the weight and get out of there.
Okay.
Um, I didn't actually throw up.
Okay.
I started eating more. And then once I saw that I could do it, it gave me confidence and I
Okay.
started eating more. I was like, I don't have to throw up. I can just eat more and never go back to that place. And that's what I did. And so
Right.
then I was just staying afloat for the rest of high school. I still wouldn't eat during school at all, wouldn't eat beforehand. I would basically just starve myself all day. And then the second I got home, I would like sort of just binge eat. And then I would get a stomach ache from that sometimes. And that obviously didn't help. But yeah, I was barely surviving. I was just
Mm-hmm.
staying afloat.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot around food and a lot of control around food. Was there an element, because it's quite common with the emetophobia, in terms of sort of cross-contamination with food, or was it certain types of food that you wouldn't eat? What was the restriction in your mind? Because obviously we know emetophobia is made up of rules that we create for ourselves and then we follow and we stick to them. So what rules did you have around food?
Yes. So probably up until COVID, it was always just I'm not allowed to eat before events or during events because I'll just feel like I'll start to get anxious and then that'll lead to nausea and then I'll throw up. So it's like, no way, it's not going to work. But I didn't have an issue with germs or contamination up until COVID. Um,
Okay.
that's when I really like developed OCD and that thrived. And I was like, I want just all over the place, intense. I only I could prepare and make my food. Only I could empty the dishwasher and take my dishes out. I had my own set of dishware utensils, and they would go in my own special drawers and cabinets that no one in my family was allowed to touch or go near anything like
Mm.
that. And yeah, only I could prepare my food. I still refused to eat out at restaurants. No one could make it. And like especially when my environment would sometimes be hectic, like there'd be people over or like someone's like painting inside the house, freak out and I just would not eat. I wouldn't make my food. I would just be like, all right, well, I guess I'm not eating today. And then that would be that.
Yep. Yep. I can personally resonate with some of that completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, a lot of restrictions around food. I'm guessing your diet was highly restricted as well as to what you deemed safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before I would just like to see how full I was instead of listening to my hunger cues, I didn't trust them. I'm like, oh, they're lying. I would put my hand over my stomach, and if it felt out or protruded or full in any way, I'd be like, I gotta stop eating. I'm full. Even though my stomach would be grumbling and I'd be hungry. It's like, nope, my stomach is out and full. My brain just must not have gotten the message yet. So I can't eat.
Right.
And so that's what I would do. And then during COVID, I started realizing, like, oh, I'm eating this much amount every day and I seem to be doing okay and I'm not nauseous. This must mean it's safe. And if I go over that, that might make me feel full and throw up. So I cannot exceed this amount. And that amount every day for the past 5 years was one small cheese brick bar, um, two Lindt chocolates, the little chocolate balls, and then one small like square rectangular hash brown that I would put some shredded cheese on top of. And that was my whole diet. All I would eat the whole day for 5 years straight. And
That's.
that was probably like 500 calories maybe a day.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I would have some Ensure Plus to help like get more calories and vitamins and stuff, but I would drink like maybe an ounce of that a day. So I wouldn't even be getting a lot of calories from that either.
Gosh. So really quite extreme in terms of your food and the restrictions around food. So you mentioned that was for 5 years straight. When, at which point did you find Emetophobia-Free on this journey?
Yes. So I've done Emetophobia-Free and the Thrive program 2 times. So
Okay.
the first time I found it in 2022 over the
Okay.
summer. I did it by myself without a coach, and it was going great. I finished it, and I'd understood, and I knew how my brain was working. And what I really latched onto was the dream technique.
Okay.
I loved that. And I did what you were not supposed to do, which is instead of working on my thinking, I just
Yeah.
used that for all of my problems. I was like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, dream technique, bam. Oh, I'm better, all good. And it helped with my confidence, but it did not help changing the thinking at all.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, it was going good, but then a couple months after I finished, I had gotten COVID, and I completely backslided, like right back to where I started before. Honestly, probably a bit worse. And I felt like a failure, and I was like, even the Thrive program couldn't help me. Nothing's gonna help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was just in just that bad headspace again. And then finally, I'd gone back to therapy, and my therapist had dumped me essentially. She's like, you need to start gaining weight or I'm not working with you. And I was like, all right, well, bye.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I was like in limbo. I was like, what am I going to do? And my mom reminded me, she's like, well, the one thing that actually helped you was the Thrive program. Like, I think you need to go back and do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but I did it by myself and it didn't work and da da da. And then she's like, well, don't they have people that can help? And then I was like, light bulb, oh my gosh, they have Thrive coaches that can work with a coach and that can help me and make sure I do it right. Cause I'm like, I know this works. I'm missing something. I knew I was
Yeah.
missing something. And so that's when I found Lauren, and
Exciting.
she's helped me change my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my mom about it the other day. I was like, I know I could have done this, but I don't think I could have done it without Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Like she made the experience so much like easier and happier and less like, serious in my head the whole time. Like she was always there, like my personal cheerleader whenever I needed her, just always sending me these lovely messages and voice memos, just telling me how proud she was of me each and every single time. And it truly made just the biggest difference in the world.
That's amazing.
I'm
That's
so proud of
amazing.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
But you did the
Absolutely
work.
amazing.
You really did the work. You did awesome. You
Mm-hmm.
utilized some of that like perfectionism, right? That was one of your biggest
Yeah.
hurdles in the beginning.
Yes.
To really put in so much effort into, I mean, it was just incredible. She did her homework just spot on, everything, just always thinking about it, always showing up on time, everything. So you made it easy for me. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, there's another podcast around this actually as to why some people take longer to overcome emetophobia than others because they're at a different starting point. Now, your starting point, Melina, was quite extreme, if you will. If you were severely underweight
Yes.
and
Yeah.
restricting everything to that level, your
Hmm.
starting point was quite significantly further back than some people's would have been. So, what was the journey like for you? Obviously, you went through it the first time, then backslid after COVID, and then found Lauren. What was the effort that you had to put in? How long did it take you to get to the point where you thought, I can do this. I can do this on my own. I've got this. I just need to keep working at it.
Yeah. So I started feeling a lot better, like only 3 or 4 weeks into the program. Like I started doing my positives. I was feeling so confident, and I was actually beginning to really believe and envision a life without emetophobia for myself.
Mm.
And I was still a bit nervous. I still had those like doubts in the back of my mind, like, what if I'm like gonna like backslide? Like once I'm done and I don't have Lauren anymore, like what's gonna happen? What am I gonna do? Like I don't want to repeat of last time. But I was like, let's calm down. Let's not be so catastrophic. One step at a time. Um, I also did some of the blip recovery program to help, and I was just trying to just ease my thoughts and just like be more
Nice.
realistic and keep my perspective. And after I finished with Lauren in December, I kept working on it every single day. I did my daily journal. I'm still doing it. I still
Good.
process my positives, just making sure I really start the day off on the right foot because it's so important. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize it until you go through the program. Like, wow, this really does make such a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I kept doing that. And each day I kept challenging myself in new ways, whether it was just my thinking or doing something new that I wouldn't have done. Like I did my own laundry. I remember sending a voice note to Lauren, like, you'll never believe what I did today. And I just kept having all these wins and just building off of that and making sure I really processed them. And I just kept getting stronger and stronger. And then eventually, just right after my birthday, I was still eating the same amount like of food. I was still restricting myself, but it was starting to hurt my body and I was starting to not feel good. And I was like, I know there needs to be a change. And I'm like, I finished the Thrive program. I know I can do this. I've beaten my emetophobia because I knew my thinking. I'd been working on it this time. I changed my
Yeah.
thinking. I was like, I know I can handle this. I need to prove it to myself. I have all these wins to back it up and support that I can do this. Like, let's give it a shot. Take it one step at a time. Don't follow any of your rules or restrictions. Just eat what you want to eat when you're hungry. Listen to your body and just go for it. And so that's what I did.
Wow.
And since then, it's been 2.5 months. I've just been eating whatever I want without fear. And I've been like enjoying eating again and discovering new foods and living my life. And it's just been so, so wonderful.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I think Lauren's tearing up over here. I think I can see.
I'm dying not to because she had so many big wins. I mean, I remember even when she told me touching like the dishwasher was such a big deal. Like you came so far in only 8 weeks. It's just incredible. I mean, the stories that you have so many stories that you could share. The contamination about fear, like your fear of cologne or your inside and
Yes.
outside clothes. I think at one point you
Mhm.
told me if you even dropped something when you were in the mall, you'd have to like go home and change if you picked it up. I mean, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
just really, really intense. And you've come so far in so little time. And I think you also told me that at your lowest weight, you were 59 pounds. Is that correct? So
Yes.
just
I was rocking with 59 pounds for at least a year. Yeah.
wow. Wow.
Mm,
And you just look so beautiful, so
mm,
like radiant today. And I'm just so proud of you
you
because
do.
Thank
it's only
you.
been a couple of months. And also, I
Yeah.
remember on our first session, you were so afraid of me forcing you to like weigh in or eat, you know. And I said, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that to you because I know that when you are ready and when you feel good enough, you're going to do it. And it did take a little bit of time, like Michelle said, but it did
Mm,
happen, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That trust just meant everything to me. Like it really helped show that like you're my friend and an ally in this and you're not here to scare me like all my
mm,
other, experiences were like. So,
mhm.
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Of course.
So it's a really, really important point, really, to come back to is that we're not here to tell you to eat things or challenge you to do something that you are going to panic around because it's not going to work long term. That's
Yeah.
not going to help you to create that self-belief that you need to overcome emetophobia, to increase your self-esteem that you need to overcome emetophobia. All of that takes time, and there's a lot of work that goes on in the program. As you said, I just worked on my thinking. I didn't change my behavior for a long time. I didn't change what I was eating for a long time, but what I was doing was working on the stuff that was supporting that restricted eating. So once I'd
Exactly.
chipped away at all of that, and once I'd been able to tackle all of that foundation, if you will, that was supporting that restricted eating, I was able to make the decision to change my eating. But it takes all of that work beforehand. Going straight in with the symptom of not being able to eat or being really underweight and trying to tackle that in isolation is not going to happen because it's supported by all of this unhelpful thinking. So you have to put the work in beforehand. And it's so lovely to hear that that's what you did and you felt comfortable and confident in doing that and weren't putting pressure on yourself to eat straight away or change that diet straight away when you didn't feel ready to, but you knew that if you worked enough on your thinking that you'd get there. And to be able to see you today, obviously I didn't see you when you were underweight, but you look fabulous.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
absolutely fabulous
you.
today. um, but that's such an inspirational story for other people to hear. If you've been so underweight for such a long time with such restricted eating for such a long time and you were able to tackle that thinking and then make the decision to eat. And now you can eat unrestricted completely. That's massive. That's absolutely huge. So well done you, I would
Thank
say.
you.
Well done you, because
Thank
that takes
you.
a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of dedication to get from your starting point to where you are now. So well done you, Melina. That's brilliant.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes. Can you just share the story you told me about the bagel? It's just too funny.
Yes, yeah. So yesterday I just washed down our tables outside, and I was like, I want to eat outside today. Like that would be so nice. And so I had my bagel and my butter, and I was eating it, and I was like just enjoying it. Like I'm out in the sun. This is so nice. And then a fly just comes, lands on my plate, and is like stuck in the butter on the plate somehow. And I just start laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
there's a fly on my plate, and I'm just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I just keep eating my bagel, and
that's amazing.
I was just thinking back, and I was like, oh my gosh, like a couple months ago, I probably would have turned this into this whole huge issue. I would have been crying, screaming, like freaking out, and now here I'm just sitting laughing, like there's a fly on my plate. What the
Yeah.
heck? Like,
That's fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
So different. Lovely.
yeah.
So is there any other parts of your story that you wanted to share today that we've not touched on?
Um, there was one experience where I had dyed my hair purple, and I was so excited, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And then the dye started coming off on my fingers.
Okay.
And then I completely started freaking out. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's dye on my fingers. What if I accidentally ingest some of this dye and it makes me sick and throw up? That, ugh. I would spend hours throughout the day just checking my fingers, like, oh my gosh, is there any purple on here? Did I ingest any? Oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick and throw up and I'm going to die. And just all this crazy, crazy, catastrophic thinking. And it was so awful that I couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, okay, the only option is I got to shave my head. And that's what I did. I shaved my whole head. So I basically just had a buzz cut left that didn't have any of like the hair dye left on it. And like combo that with me being underweight, it was not good at all. So I'm like, yeah, emetophobia made me shave my head.
Yeah. It's emetophobia has made people do some really quite extreme things. The people have jumped out of moving vehicles before now, and shave their head. So it does make people do some really, really extreme things. And it's so important to share those stories because, especially for people who are supporting other people with emetophobia who don't understand the fear and absolute terror that you have that drives you to do those things, because you might as well be being chased by a bear. That's how scared you feel. And if that's the story you've created around the hair dye, then it makes sense that you would want to shave your hair off, because that's what's creating the terror, right? It's your thoughts about that hair. So I can totally understand that. How old were you at this point?
I believe I was 19 or 20.
Right.
It was when I was in like my second year of college, I believe. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I managed to, all through high school and college, I graduated in 3 years, all while having emetophobia and not eating before classes or during classes.
Doesn't that just show how powerful you are to be able to do that? Because the all-consuming nature of emetophobia and how much it dominates your thinking every day, you were able to manage that and still graduate college. That's insane. That is such a lot of mental power taken to get yourself through the day with emetophobia and still achieve those things. So I'm hoping you've processed that, because that to me is just extraordinary.
Yeah. It was great, but it was also just, like I didn't get to really experience high school and college the way that I would have liked, because it was just, I very much in high school and college, I just isolated myself a bit. I had people I'd talk to, I had friends, but I wouldn't hang out with anyone really outside of school because I would not allow myself to eat until all the activities of the day were done.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't do any extracurriculars, no matter how bad I wanted to do them, because I was like, well, then you can't eat. And I was like, well, I want to eat. So it's like, well, you got to pick. And I was like, well, then I pick eating.
Yeah.
So it was, I'm very proud of myself for all of my accomplishments, but it was just, I do look back on it like a bit sad because I didn't get to do all the stuff I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. But you've now got a life ahead of you where you can do whatever you want.
I do.
And
I
you're
do.
only 22, did you say? 22?
Yeah, 22.
Yes. So you have a
young.
lot of years ahead of you to
Yeah.
enjoy and to thrive and to make that life that you want for yourself, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I've just done a podcast earlier
Yeah.
today with a lady who was 67 has only just overcome it. You know, she's had all of those years suffering with it, and you're 22 and you're done, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would focus on that because you go, I've got so many
Yes,
years now to
focusing on the
enjoy.
positives. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely. Lauren, do you have any part of Melina's story or any input that you want to share before we go on to what life is like now for Melina?
Yeah, thank you for asking. When you were speaking, I had remembered something that you did tell me that I think it's been a little bit, but I remember getting off call with you and I did tear up because it was something I had never heard before and something so impactful. And that was when, when you're talking about your relationships, one thing that you had told me was that you were now able to physically touch, which I hadn't known. And you told me that it was the first time in so long that you had given your mother a hug and then said, "I love you," right? Because
Yeah.
can you talk about like what that was like for you to be afraid of even human touch?
Yeah. So, um, at like events and gatherings and stuff, like, I'd hug people because it's like, it's this form, and if you don't, it's just going to create a whole bunch of more problems. So I would do that, but I'd be highly uncomfortable and freaking out. And the whole time I'd just spend during the event just brooding about it and freaking out and catastrophizing and just imagining all the worst case scenarios. Um, and it was just very unpleasant. And I didn't actually ever get to like enjoy the hug either because I'd be, creating immense anxiety. Um, but once I started feeling more powerful, and I was like, I know the power of hugs are so healing and wonderful and amazing. And I miss hugging people and like, genuinely like loving it and feeling it. So I was like, I want to hug my mom. And the second the thought entered my head, I started thinking about it more and just like, hyping myself up, like, I can do this. I know I can do this. I want to hug her. It's going to be great. And I did. I hugged her. And it was so lovely for both of us because she hasn't, obviously hugged me really in a long time. And yeah, just being able to like hug and like feel the love from my mom. Uh, it was really special.
You're getting me going now.
Yeah.
That was to me off as well. That is incredible.
Hard not to.
It is
Yeah.
really hard not to, and that's lovely. So all of this progress, and now you are where you are now on your journey. What is life like for you on a day-to-day basis now? Because we've heard an awful lot about what it was like with emetophobia. What is it like now for you, Melina?
Yes. It's really lovely. I'm not like in my head as much. I'm just like I'm able to actually be present in the moment and just enjoy life and like the little things that I would never think about. And I'm actually kind to myself. Like I'm for the first time in my life, like I actually love myself. I used to be just like my own like biggest critic, just dragging myself down, like cursing at myself, calling myself all these awful names, like not just never a kind thing. And now it's like a complete 180, like it's all kind things. It's I like every day I look in the mirror and I just tell myself how proud I am of myself and that I love myself. And I believe it, like it's not just empty words. Like I truly believe it. And it's so amazing. And obviously, like, and I wake up just every day, like, so happy and excited because I'm like, what new thing am I going to do today? Like, in what new way am I going to take back my life today? And just every day, it's a new thing, and it's just a new joy, a new positive. And I get like each and every day just closer and closer to, like, I say, my dream thriving life. Like, I keep taking back my life, and I have no plans of stopping. I'm just going to keep going and going.
Brilliant. That was my
Yeah.
next question was going to be, okay, so you've got all of this amazing stuff going on for you now. How do you know that you're not going to backslide like you did last time? That would be
Yeah.
my question.
Yeah, and it's still just working on my thinking because this has been 22 years of thinking this way. And
Mm.
so it's not just going to change overnight. And it's being patient with myself and reminding myself of that. And that has been probably my biggest struggle, is being patient, because I'm like, oh, I'm eating now. Now I want, like, I need to gain all this weight. Like, I want to gain all this weight fast. That way I can start, like, one of my things is I used to love running. And since I, dropped to such a low weight, I could not run. It would not be safe. And so I'm like, oh, I want to get to, like, a safe weight. That way I can start running again. Like, I'm so excited, and, like, being able to do things again. Because when you were, like, at such a low weight, you're not able to do a lot of stuff without getting easily exhausted and, risking bad things happening. So now I was just like, I'm able to finally do stuff and, like, go out. And I haven't been swimming or at the beach in, like, 5, 6 years. So I'm like, I can't wait. It's summer. It's nice out. I want to go to the beach, and I don't have to worry about, like, getting sick or preparing food or bringing food or whatever. I'm like, I can just go take it one step at a time and figure it out as I get there. Like, there doesn't need to
Nice.
be this whole game plan that's so complex and all this danger and stuff. Yeah. And
It's
so
amazing.
it's really great. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think what you're describing there is you're actively doing that. You're actively doing each day now. You're putting effort into creating the day you want for yourself every day.
Yes.
You're getting up, you're setting your intention, you're getting up, you're managing your thinking. You're imagining the days you want it to go. You're setting goals for yourself. You're engaged in creating the life you want for yourself. So you know you're not going to backslide because you're just going to keep doing that, right? You're going to
Yeah.
keep managing your thinking. You're going to keep setting your intentions. You're going to keep yourself thriving because it's an active process. It's not something that's happening to you. This life you're feeling now, you've made it. You've done it. You've created it. So you're going to keep creating it, which is
Yeah.
so exciting.
Melina, can you also share the novel that you're working on? Because it does have to do with mental
Yeah.
health, and that's so cool.
Yes. So, ever since I first discovered my love of writing, in middle school, and then as I, got into, high school, and my mental health started, becoming more challenging, um, I made it a mission of mine. I'm like, I want to write about mental health, and I want to help break the stigma, and if anything, just help at least one person be like, wow, it's not just me. I'm not alone. Like, see themselves actually reflected. And so, I actually, in college, I studied writing, so I have a degree in writing, and, um, my whole goal is to I want to write novels about teens struggling with some mental health,
Mm.
and just put that representation out there. And so I am working on my first novel, and it is about a young girl who struggles with anxiety and social anxiety. And it's going to follow her and her thoughts and her journey with anxiety.
That's so exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's really exciting. How far along are you with it? Are you first draft ready, or are you not quite? Where are you with it?
Ugh. So I'm about 20,000 words in.
Okay.
And because it's a young adult novel, it's typically like 60 to 90,000 words, I believe. So
Yeah.
I have 7 chapters of it. So I'm getting there. I'm
Yes.
almost halfway, but yeah.
Fantastic. Well done you. That's brilliant.
Thank
That's lovely to
you.
hear, and it's a really lovely way to spend your time and to leave a lasting impact on the world is to write a novel.
Yeah.
I'm a very avid reader, so I'm excited for that because I'll be reading it when it comes out.
Yes.
Thank you.
I absolutely will be. because you have a brilliant story to tell, and only when, I think, when you've been through something like you have, that first-hand experience will come out in the writing so naturally and so easily, much better and much more genuinely than someone who's just researching this stuff. You've lived it, so you can clearly share that, which is really exciting. So stay tuned, everybody. There's a novel on the way. I'm excited. Brilliant. So do you have any words of wisdom, Melina, for people in your position? Anything that you want to share to teens or young people out there who are really struggling with emetophobia, and or body dysmorphia, Arfid, germophobia, OCD, all of those things? Because I'm guessing all of those things have improved as well since you've been a photographer.
Yes. I honestly, I would say I don't really have any of my, not like I know I can handle it, and that I've changed my thinking.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, this is me that was creating it this whole time. Let's not put ourselves through that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the OCD's gone now, and the germophobia and all of that, same as the emetophobia. You're working on all of it, and it's all crumbling away beautifully.
Yes.
Yes. So anything that you would like to say to anybody listening?
Yeah. So any emetophobe, whether you're an ex-emetophobe or you're currently struggling with emetophobia, I just want to say that all of you guys, each and every single one of you guys are my heroes. Because I know what it's like. I've been in your shoes. I know how hard it is to get up every day and to live with this. Just all uncompassionating fear and debilitation and the unknown, and how lonely it is, and how it seems like no one understands you, and the strength that it takes for you to just get up each and every single day and to keep living and to keep trying and keep doing your best each day. That's amazing, and it's so important. And I'm so, so proud of each and every single one of you that are doing that. And you all deserve so much better than this. And that's why I really, really plead with you, please take this leap of faith. Do thrive. Like, what do you have to lose? You're so strong. You're going through this every single day. If you can do that, you can do this. You can change your life. You are so incredibly powerful and wildly capable. You can do this. Please, please do it. It's going to change your life. It is. And you can't fail. As long as you just keep putting in the effort and the work and just getting to know and understand yourself, you will succeed and you'll change your life.
I don't know how to follow that, Melina. I don't know what to say after that. There's nothing more to say than that.
It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful. Lauren, do you have anything that you'd like to say to Melina or anyone in the audience?
Oh my goodness. No, I really don't want to tear up too. But it was so raw, so genuine, so heartfelt. And one thing that I've always just loved about working with you is how articulate and how beautifully you express your feelings and what you are going through and everything. And I would say the exact same thing. All three of us have lived it. All three of us understand it. And I would say the exact same words. It's hard to follow that. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. I don't think we need to follow it, do we? We can just leave it at that.
Well done. Yes.
Very, very much so. Very well done. And thank you again from all of us for sharing your story today, Melina, because it's been a really rough ride for you for a very long time. And I'm just so pleased that you are now out the other side, living that life you want to be living, creating it for yourself day on day. It's wonderful to hear, and it's wonderful to see you looking so well, and to have heard about the journey and the effort that you've put in. And being here and sharing your story is so impactful for other people, and it can't be underestimated, the value of sharing our stories when everybody with emetophobia, or most people with emetophobia, feel so alone.
Yes.
Because they really do. Thank you so much. That's all I can say. I'm not going to try and close it any better than Melina did, because she just smashed it out the park. So we'll leave it there. A very teary goodbye from us all. But thank you so much, guys. And thank you again, Melina, because you're an absolute superstar.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.